Hey, everybody, and welcome back to The Rugged Edge, presented by Getac. I'm Brad Decker. I'm the Computer Mounting Solutions Demo Installations Manager at Getac. And today's episode, we're diving into a piece of utility tech that doesn't always get the spotlight, not always the sexiest part, but it's absolutely should. And what we're going to talk about today is docking stations. More specifically, how the right docking station can actually help utility companies switch technologies faster with less friction and less downtime. Joining me today from Gamber-Johnson are two experts who work closely with the utility customers across the U.S. Mark does the West. He's the Enterprise Regional Manager, Sales Manager, and we have Jack, the Eastern Enterprise Account Manager. Together, we'll explore how docking stations, when done right, can be strategic advantage, not just a piece of hardware. So let's get started. Some utility companies consider stow and go option when it comes to their mobile devices in a vehicle. Mounting has many advantages for the utility customer to consider. Mark and Jack, do you want to, why a dock?
Great question, Brad. Hey, and thanks for having us, Brad. So my name is Mark Nistler. I'm with Gamber-Johnson, and I handle the Western United States for Gamber, and I do a lot of my focus on the utility accounts. So when you talk about the docking station in the vehicle, I would say it's kind of like when you work out of your office at home. It's not just about the dock or where your computer is, it's about the workspace. You need to be productive. You need to have the right communications pieces in place. You need to make sure you've got power and every other thing that you need to be productive needs to be addressed. So when you talk about the docks, I would also say that you're also talking about the mounts. You're talking about the ergonomics. You want to be comfortable, and you want to just make sure that your workspace is flexible and that you have the tools you need to be productive that day.
Those are great points, Mark. I'm Jack Henander, and I'm Mark's counterpart in the utility enterprise space. I cover the east half of the United States. And something to add on here to Mark's comments, when you're in the vehicle, ergonomics are a big part of that. Drivers are having to, turn and get into uncomfortable positions sometimes to be able to work on an unmounted or undocked laptop, or trying to place it on their lap and work in a tight space against the steering wheel. It's just not a comfortable space to work in. So Gamber-Johnson focuses on making it more ergonomic with swing arms that allow you to bring the dock closer to you, move it to the left and to the right. Docking allows that tech to then undock and redock their Getac device between the truck and the field, so it makes that transition in and out of the vehicle very seamless for them. It also reduces device damage, so things like smart cable management that relieve the strain on the cables themselves. Problem we see a lot out in the field is people that don't have a docking station are manually plugging and unplugging their laptop or their tablet. And those USB-C ports can be very sensitive to a lot of plugging and unplugging and can create damage, which causes downtime out in the field for the technician that's using that device. So by using a docking station, it eliminates a lot of that damage that can be done to those ports. It also provides integrated charging, which ensures that the device stays powered throughout, their long shifts. And it's critical for GIS mapping and SCADA access when they're out in the field.
The other thing I would like to point out when you talk about device damage, when Brad uses the word stow and go, what does that mean? You've got a driver or a worker, his hands are full of everything. Does he throw his device on the seat next to him? Does he stuff it between the seats? Does he throw it in the back? So to keep the device in a spot where it's supposed to be, so that it's charging, so that it's communicating, and that if you hit the brakes, it's not bouncing around is really important and a big part of what you get with the docks too. We'll talk more about that later, but like Jack said, secure it, make sure it's flexible and it be in position where the driver can take advantage of it, and it puts it in a comfortable spot where he can do his work.
Gamber-Johnson also, just a side note, crash test certifies all of our docking stations. So that helps give fleet and fleet managers confidence that the equipment, as Mark said, stays put and avoids becoming a cabin hazard in the event of an accident.
All good points, Jack and Mark. From your perspective, how has Getac and Gamber-Johnson partnership helped solve the problems with utility customers?
Yeah, basically, working with Getac has been great. Brad and I go back a little ways, so we know each other. We know how to work together. One thing that Gamber Johnson really appreciates is that Jack and I and all the other sales reps within Gamber Johnson have demonstration vehicles. So if Brad calls me and says, we're working on something at this utility account, and I'm hoping to show him, the new F-120 mounted with a rugged keyboard. Um, are you available? Can you put in your truck? Can you run out to the customer? Can we show it? If Brad can't be there, he trusts me. I can do it for him. Or a lot of times in the perfect world, we wanted to have a joint sales call and do that together. So having demonstration vehicles, working with a partner that we like and trust is very important, and having access to anything the customer wants to see from a Gamber Johnson standpoint, or one of our sister companies, be it Lind Electronics or maybe it's a PMT dock from Calgary. We can put that together and get that in front of a customer in a vehicle in a real world situation.
A couple other points to consider for the customer is Gtech and Gamber-Johnson. When we design these docks, it's a joint engineering effort. And so that ensures compatibility across all the different generations. We like to say designed together, tested together. That partnership ensures reliability in real utility fleet use cases. So it's a very important partnership, and it translates very well to the customer experience.
And I think Brad would agree. The big thing for the customer is to see it, in use in a vehicle, potentially even in their own vehicle. If we need to send demos out, we can do that too.
Absolutely, Mark. To piggyback on that a little bit, my personal secret sauce in sales has been the demo install of getting the customer all the hardware to try to physically get in the vehicle. I'm not a PowerPoint guy at all, so it's actually getting the equipment bolted in the Gamber Johnson mounts, docks, bolted in the vehicle with the Gtech tablet or laptop, and the end user actually uses it for 30 to 90 days. And during that time, we make changes and tweak it and make it to their specifications. One other good point that I'd like to make is Gtech's the only rugged computer manufacturer that has a dedicated full-time installation person. We team up with Gamber for the computer mounts and docks to have an integrated overall solution. All the demo equipment is provided and installed by Gtech and/or Gamber Johnson. A lot of times, I'll bring along a Gtech manager to assist in the installation to make a better product and end result there. Um, Gtech and Gamber Johnson, we work closely together, creating the best possible vehicle computer solution. This saves a lot of time and money for the end user for a seamless refresh where they're not buying a bunch of equipment that they find out down the road that it's useless. They get to try it and before they buy it.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it allows the two, or really the three companies, the customer, Gtech, and Gamber, to all be on the same page. They've got the demo equipment, they know who to call, who to talk to. We can bring in all the engineering resources, install resources, whatever that customer might need to have that set up tweaked to where it works just right for them and their drivers.
Absolutely, Jack. Do you guys have you guys being Gamber Johnson, do you have a real example that you care to share in the utility space that you have in a success story?
I would say, yeah, we got various success stories around the country, and Jack has his in the east, I have mine in the west. But the main thing is when we partner with GTAC, like Jack said, and the end user to do the demos. A lot of times these people or the utilities are doing rollouts. So, for example, I had a situation where we did the demo, we had the project started, they bought their first batch of products, but it was part of a rollout over multiple budgets. So as we move forward, there has been some changes with the devices, but the docs don't change much at all if they have to. The Getac and they don't want their platform to change. So even though they're getting a higher revved device, a new clock speed, maybe a new operating system, the latest technology, they can buy the same docks, they can have the same mounts underneath it. It doesn't really affect the project. It doesn't really affect the rollout. So we see that a lot, and I think that's part of the success we have with our partnership.
Hey, Mark, I got a good one that I can add to that one. We had
Mhm.
Gtech had an S410 dock that had been with a customer for, let's just call it 5 years. And then there was a new rev in the actual computer. Instead of Gamber-Johnson and Gtech having to buy, well, the end user having to buy a new dock, all that was needed was some little bumpers, rubber bumpers put on there to make the fit correct, instead of buying a large expensive dock and then having to go through and do a retrofit. All they had to do was two rubber bumpers versus you know, yanking and or buying and yanking old equipment and putting new equipment in. So that was one that we actually did together. Gamber Johnson and GTech worked together to help the end user, and they were doing backflips when they heard that was all that was going to be needed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. I've got a utility customer in the Northeast that switched to GTAC. Again, similar situation, on site visits, demo equipment. They paired the GTAC device with the Gamber Johnson docks and a pedestal system. It allowed them to manage and replace devices as they needed over time without having to swap out any additional parts. And man, it saves them time, it saves them money, saves them install costs, and it allows for an easy transition to the new GTAC device.
Absolutely, Jack. It's great to hear, practical success stories from the end user, and that brings the strategy to real life. Um, let's switch gears, guys, and let's talk a bit about total cost of ownership. Um, what would procurement teams be factoring in when it comes to the actual docks?
So one thing I would say is that docks, a lot of times people treat them as accessories, but it's really a productivity tool. It's really a capital investment. And when you put the dock and the device in the vehicle, it's not only um, the piece to hold the device, but it's power management. Do you have a timer? Can you not chase dead batteries this coming year? Do you have something that shuts off the device if the driver doesn't? Chasing dead batteries, as you can imagine, is a complete waste of time. Do you have a consistent power management, power wiring scheme? Do you have every upfitter doing it differently, or do you have a consistent wiring harness? Do you have a communication strategy where people that can't communicate have the right antenna so that they can, get their cell signal or whatever signal they need? So it's again, it's a productivity tool. Does the driver have everything he needs to take care of the total cost, so you're not chasing things around and you're not just kicking problems down the road? And from a Gamma Johnson standpoint, I think we have a lot of those solutions that can help you with that.
The docking station, for one, install labor, it reduces that significantly. And it reduces downtime for these guys. We kind of talked about it throughout the podcast earlier, but just things like cable management and drop and breakage is all reduced when that device is set into a docking station. So if you use a good quality, rugged docking station from Gamber-Johnson, you can quickly pay for itself compared to cheaper, less durable solutions, because you are reducing and eliminating a lot of that device damage that happens over time.
Absolutely. That speaks directly to the return investment, which which is what procurement and finance teams are purely focused on. Um, let's
Right.
as we wrap it up today. What one message that you'd want the utility leaders to take away from this conversation, especially those on the fence about switching platforms?
A lot of utilities these days are shifting from paper workflows to a fully digital field operation. Gamber-Johnson docks support that shift with reliable in-vehicle data access, stable connectivity for their telematics, AVL, and dispatch. And we support things for like GIS and asset tracking tools. So again, back to that, why dock? There's just so many advantages here in terms of helping future-proof them and helping them transition to that paperless workflow and into a fully digital field operation.
It's definitely a powerful point. It's not just about the rugged hardware. It's about building flexibility and evolving to the end user's needs. Thanks again to the Gamber-Johnson team for joining us and sharing these insights. If you're working in the utility space and exploring your next tech upgrade, take a close look at your docking strategy. It might be the key to switching smarter, faster, with a lot less friction. To learn more about Getac and Gamber-Johnson solutions, visit getac.com or gamberjohnson.com. And also, of course, be sure to subscribe to The Rugged Edge for more conversations with the teams behind the tech that's built for the real world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.